Hello Internet, it's me Josh, the aging gamer. So, the 90s, what an awesome decade to live in. We had such awesome video games, music, TV shows, professional wrestling, comics, and almost everything else. But man, what also a weird time. In terms of media, it was definitely an era of shock value and trash TV. It was also a big time for gross out humor. To be more specific, it allowed games like Boogerman to exist. Yeah, you heard me, Boogerman. Developed by Interplay, this game features a booger-flicking superhero that uses all his bodily functions to fight evil. With gross out humor rivaling that of Garbage Pail Kids and Ren and Stimpy, what else can I really say about this? You have to see it for yourself. Who actually thinks boogers and burping and other things like that are funny? Like farts, I totally get. Place a fart joke at the right time and it's freaking hilarious. But other gross out stuff? I don't understand. But since this is a game that's so far out there for all these features, I figure it's worth taking a look at. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, this is Boogerman, a pick and flick adventure. So let's start with the story here. In the high hills of the land called Takey Dump, yeah, seriously, there's a science lab where a mad scientist named Professor Stinkbomb has solved the world's pollution problem by using a new contraption that transports the world's garbage to another dimension. A dimension known as Dimension Excrement. An out-of-practice superhero, eccentric millionaire Snotty Ragsdale, works at that previously mentioned lab as a janitor so he can keep a close eye on it. One day, the ruler of Dimension Excrement, the Boogermeister, steals the contraption and must be stopped. Snotty Ragsdale transforms into Boogerman and is ready to save the day. What a story. What a stupid story. I'm a bit disappointed that we don't get an origin story for Boogerman, but considering this was his only game, I guess it doesn't really matter. Anyway, once you start playing, you can see what Boogerman's powers actually are. He can flick boogers, burp, fart, find a chili power-up to fartfly, dig, is that poop? And he can shoot loogies after getting the milk power-up. Disgusting. Boogerman's main attack, flicking boogers, is limited. There's a booger meter that will deplete as you toss boogers. Collecting mucus in the stages will refill it. So I guess Boogerman is shoving other people's boogers up his nose just to flick it out? Ugh, he's just a walking cesspool of disease, isn't he? So in this 2D platformer, you'll travel through the stages, jumping platform to platform with some occasional swinging and climbing. The controls here feel fine and they work well in these levels, and as gross as it is, I gotta admit, it's pretty cool that Boogerman has so many forms of attack. But despite all these various moves of destruction, the good old bop on the head is probably the best and quickest way to dispose of these enemies. In each stage, you'll collect plungers for points and you'll fight off various bad guys, including nose goblins, scab creatures, pus creatures, and even the abdominal sewer man. You'll travel through various worlds too, like the flatulent swamps, the pits, Boogerville, mucus mountains, nasal caverns, and pus palace. Despite the various locations, all the levels have that samey kind of feel to them. It feels like the same levels, but with various gross out humor aesthetics. This game is very style over substance. What kind of style? I don't know, but it's style over substance. And since there's not much to talk about with the levels, let's take a look at some of the other characters in this universe. Let's talk bosses. The first one you run into is Hick Boy. This hick runs around the screen using his chicken as a boomerang and also as an egg-shooting firearm. Get him, Buck! Get him! There's also Revolta. I'll get you, my According to her bio, it seems like she was just so ugly she became a villain. She'll attack with her ugly stick, and she also has lightning breath for some reason. There's another boss called Flyboy. Uh-oh. His whole thing is, he's a fly dude who has some lame bug-related attacks. And our fourth boss is Deodor Ant.
You stink, Boogerman!
His whole shtick is, and I guess he's very ant-like.
It's up for your own name! Oh! Oh!
All these bosses have something in common. Their battles are long and repetitious. They each have a little pattern you have to learn, but then the fights just go on for way too long. Some of these fights I can admit are a bit tricky. I think Flyboy gave me the most trouble, but all in all, I did not like these. Revolta in particular just felt like I was fighting her for forever.
Booger!
And for the final boss of the game, let's talk about the old Boogermeister himself.
Well, if it isn't Booger Boy himself. I'll finish you off, then your world will be mine. Not if I stop you first. No!
He's this huge fartwad here. He has similar powers to Boogerman, booger flicking and farting, but for the most part, his attacks can be avoided by jumping up while on these pillars. Hit him so many times, and he's defeated.
Get him! Ouch! I'll be back.
As the credits roll, you can run around the screen. Go back to the men's room and you can change back to Mr. Snotty Ragsdale. And you can clean! Hell yeah! And all of this is Boogerman, a pick and flick adventure. So, Boogerman. This is probably the most 90s video game there is. Throughout this review, I probably sound really negative on the game, but the truth is, I don't think it's that bad. My negatives for the game are what I already mentioned. Bland level designs and excruciating long boss fights. For the levels, there's just too much of the same in my opinion. There's 20 levels total, and I think the game would have had a better flow if some of those levels were cut. Now, I know it's strange to say that a game should cut content, but sometimes too much is just too much. And as for those boss fights, oy, with the AI pattern being too predictable and all the bosses having such a high and unknown amount of health, the fights just drag on. But other than these complaints, I honestly like everything else about the game. Boogerman, as stupid as this idea for a character is, I can't help but like for its originality. Think about it, at the time of this game's release, every other developer was trying to make the next Sonic the Hedgehog. It was animal mascots galore. Interplay Games had to know that there was no way that this was going to be the next Sonic or Mario, but they went with it anyway. And what we got is such an oddball character. Yeah, boogers are gross, but I mean, these are those comically ridiculous green slime boogers that aren't even a real thing. If we can give Earthworm Jim a pass for having snot as a sidekick, I'll give Boogerman a pass too. And you know what? I'm a grown man, and I couldn't help but chuckle when I hear random fart noises after killing an enemy.
Cool!
Let's not try to take the high road and act like we're better than this. And when playing the game, I gotta give it to the developers. It really feels like I'm controlling a superhero. Boogerman has so many powers and attacks. It's pretty cool. And surprisingly, this game's strong suit has to be its graphics. The animations have no right being this, well, animated. The animations are just so smooth. It almost feels wasted in a game like this. The voice clips are also a nice touch.
Booger!
So for my closing statements, is Boogerman worth playing? For the mere morbid curiosity? Yeah, there's no other game like this. However, if you don't play it, I don't think you're really missing out either. This game was very much a you just had to be there title. It's not a bad game, but it's not necessarily a must-have either. But these are just my opinions. What do you guys think? What do you think of Boogerman? Do you like the game? Am I being too hard on it? Let me know in the comments below. If you like this video, like and subscribe and all that good stuff. And thank you guys for watching. I'll see you all on the next one. Take care.